Welcome to another episode of Technically Speaking.
Yeah. Hey, I'll tell you what, I know you're going to say this is near and dear to your heart, but I want to talk about how your favorite buzzword AI is affecting good old real world, feet on the ground infrastructure.
You know that this is a topic that's near and dear to my heart. And the reason it's near and dear to my heart is that, how everything old is new again. And so the whole world of high performance workloads, they never have enough capacity to store the whole working set inside of them. So we have storage where the working set is and the data that are leveraged has to reside. Then you can imagine that we want to feed those as rapidly as possible. So that means we need to think really carefully about storage. Like, where does it come from? How do we get the workload into it? Do we do some very specialized things? We're at a point now where some storage companies are doing co-development with some of the GPU companies to be able to prefetch data to make sure that the memory caches are full, so that the CPUs and the GPUs are as active as possible, as much as possible. And then, of course, in between all of that, how does it get from the storage, whatever that is, to the compute, whatever that is, or some kind of network? And networks have to have my two favorite things, bandwidth and latency, taken into account.
Yeah.
And so when we go and interact with our customers, there's one part of the discussion, which is always, what is it that you want to do? What is the business objective? How do we deal with the data? And then we have to work backwards from there. And so it's just like data center architecture, but just there's more zeros at the ends of the numbers for how much capacity and how fast it has to go. I'm completely fascinated with this space, Mark. It is near and dear to my heart, and it's no joke. It's my favorite thing that we do.
Well, and all of this, to your point about data centers, all of this sits in a data center that's being asked to cool hotter and hotter compute, provide power for bigger and higher capacity storage. And so there's a power dilemma even on the data center side. Teaser alert, but that's going to be a future episode, technically speaking, when we dive into how it's affecting the data center. So,
oh, well, let's talk about that just for a second. It's a fantastic, interesting space because there's two things that are very related, right? One is how much power is required to run some of these workloads. But the corresponding and fascinating issue is what happens when you use a lot of power for things? Well, they get hot.
Yeah.
We're starting to look at things like non-conductive pools of stuff where we're just going to dunk them in liquid to get rid of the heat. But our data center problem is very real. Like these things will melt through to the core of the earth. And then where are we? It's a big problem.
No, absolutely the case. Well, and you mentioned the networking side, right? We've got this high performance compute environment crunching the numbers. We got this storage of which you're a world expert on that is storing all this data and that network in between. I looked at a solution the other day that measures the throughput. It's looking at throughput measured in terabits per second. Now, I honestly had not heard that as a term, but there are manufacturers out there making clustered network pipes, let's call it, to do that connection at like mind-boggling bandwidth. So that's an exciting new frontier.